We're going to ask the mayor that, Jill, as soon as she comes on. I think it was 90 days that they voted on. 90 days to check it every 30 days. All right, everybody, we got 2 minutes before we start. 2 minutes. Hello, Bill Green. How are you? How's everybody? Here comes the star of the show now. Well, one of the stars of the show. You don't really need your headphones. We got 1 minute. 1 minute before we roll. She's going to be in the background there, making as much noise as she can. Don't worry about it, Jilly. It's fine. What is that? What was that? Huh? Oh, brother. All right, 30 seconds. Can we do it? You won't need that. I'm taking mine off because then you won't be able to hear Anita if you have those on. All right. Well, I don't have the adapter, so I wasn't prepared. You don't need that. People aren't tuning in to listen to us. They're tuning in to listen to Anita. Your microphone's going to fall. Huh? All right. You ready? Are you ready? All right. Pick up your microphone. 3, 2, 1. And a good evening, everybody. Welcome to a special Monday night edition of Beach Talk Radio. I'm Ed Ryan. That's Kim Ryan. And we're now in day number 12 of the beach being closed, but day number 10 of all the gyms being closed. So that's really a big bummer. And so joining us now to give us a real update on how things are going is everybody's favorite mayor in all of Florida.
Maybe not today.
Sarasita. How are you doing, Mayor?
I have a little bit of a headache, but I'm hanging in. How are you guys?
We're doing good. Are you doing all right?
Good.
I'm doing all right.
Okay. So, Mayor, the first thing before we get to your meeting was the county met first today, and they kind of kept things status quo. What are your thoughts on how things went at the county level?
You know, I'm sorry, but I watched until, or at least, hold on a second. Let me just.
You need to get that?
No, I'll just. It's my sister Becky. I'll call her back. I'm gonna silence my phone here though, because otherwise it'll go off constantly. So, I saw up to when Dr. Antonucci spoke at the first time, and then I was just busy with our town manager and our town attorney and our staff trying to get our meeting prepped, so I wasn't able to see the rest or listen to the rest of the meeting. I'll do that tonight sometime, but just haven't done it.
So were you hoping that they would take further action, or do you think that what they did last week is working?
I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you that my letter that I sent them asked them to take further action. So I wish they had, but we're all on the same page at this point, and we are getting very good compliance from our communities. So I tell you still again, as I've said every single time I've spoken with you, everything is still on the table. If there need to be further actions taken, we certainly won't hesitate to do it. And I would assume the county is the same way.
What further actions were you hoping that they would take today?
What was that?
Our daughter's rearranging the house while she's here with us. So,
Well, you got to keep busy. I was asking them specifically to put a stay safe, stay at home order in place. But, I got a lot of calls and emails from people yesterday asking me if I could please clarify for them how that kind of an order would be different from what they're doing now. And it wouldn't be. They are up, but for, memorializing it somehow in some formal sense, people are staying at home, the majority of them. They are asking themselves, do I need to go to Home Depot or do I want to go to Home Depot? They are pretty much utilizing social distancing, but for the exceptions, of course, there are always exceptions. And so I couldn't give them any more of an answer than that. So it's why we took the action we took today, which essentially was what the county did.
So
unbeknownst to me.
One other quick question about the governor. It looked like he kind of locked down 4 counties in the state because of a lot of the cases being down there. Were you hoping more from him? Mayor Ruane sent me a text message when we were in the course of our meeting, telling me that essentially what the governor did was to memorialize what the individual counties already had done. So it wasn't just them, it was him saying it. And so that's a good thing. And do I wish the governor had done more? I think the governor is trying to allow for latitude in our individual communities, but I feel that ultimately he probably will be taking more steps. So if you did have, I know this is a rhetorical question, and I asked one last week too, if you did have the power to close the bridges, would you?
I think I answered that question, and I kind of got called on the carpet for it because it complicates everybody's life so much. We did have a caller on our video meeting today who essentially said that, close the bridge, close it to residents only, and it may very well come to that. I'm hoping that what we did today eliminates any future or further encroachment on encroachment's not a good word, any future visitors. And so we're able to kind of wrap our heads around how we're going to take care of our residents and our businesses. And, we'll see what happens from there.
In the meeting today, for those who might not have watched, can you kind of summarize what you guys came up with today?
Yes, I can, Kim, and thank you for that. So we took 3 actions. There were 3 votes. The very first one was essentially a motion to approve the order of the day, the meeting system, and those were the changes that were put into place by the governor that allowed us to have a video meeting, that allowed us to not have the public at town hall. And so that was important that we did that. And so that was number 1. It was procedural in nature, let's say that. Number 2 was relative to accommodations. And that is, a lot of people said, does that include the red coconut? Yes, it includes the red coconut. Does it include timeshares? Yes. Does it include hotels? Yes. Does it include any kind of what we're going to call transient lodging, which means you check in and you check out, any type of transient lodging? We put an order into place that requires them to cancel upcoming reservations for the next 90 days, to not take any new reservations, but it also does allow them to maintain people who are currently at their property and let those people finish their stay. It does not allow somebody who, in another interview, I just used the outrigger, so I'm going to use it again. So let's say that right now, Joe and Mary from Columbus, I keep using my my people that I don't even know who they are. Joe and Mary from Columbus are right now at the outrigger with their family. And they have been there, let's say, the last 2 weeks. And they're supposed to be there through Saturday of this week. Joe and Mary can stay through Saturday, but they cannot extend their stay. And on Saturday, they'll be asked to leave. I'm sure they're being notified now. Does that give you a clear example?
And that will be revisited every 30 days, or is it 90 days for sure?
Well, you heard Vice Mayor Murphy say that he felt pretty certain that the next council would be talking about this on a regular basis. I would assume, or if I were still on the council, what I would envision is that every single agenda, it would be on the agenda to see if anybody wanted to change anything. That's just what I'm talking off the top of my head. Certainly, they will be able to do whatever they choose.
So Tim says, I don't understand the 90-day hotel isolation. By the way, you could type any questions you might have for the mayor in the box there if you want to. He doesn't understand the 90-day hotel isolation with no reservations. The U.S. government has extended social distancing until the end of May. Why punish FMB establishments beyond the government's recommendation?
This isn't punishment. And though I certainly understand what Tim's question is, and look, I'm one of those people. I have businesses on the island too. So what we needed to do, and in large part with the hoteliers and other rental agencies' cooperation, I mean, we had many of them reach out to us and say, rip the Band-Aid off, close us down so we can start to move on. So in large part with their cooperation, what we try to do, because Fort Myers Beach is unique in this element, that we have a constant push for resources and a constant push for reservations. With all the other counties around us, Pinellas, Hillsborough, Dade, Broward, Monroe, short of Collier, those coastal, Fort Myers Beach was technically still open to take guests. And that isn't good for our town. It's not good for our town because those guests aren't just going to stay in their hotel rooms. Those guests are going to go to Publix and CVS and anything else that's open. And that creates risk. And it's just as clear and as simple as that. And it certainly wasn't meant in any way to punish anybody. Not in any way meant to punish anybody. Just simply to clarify things for people. And as I said, in large part with the support of the hoteliers.
I think a lot of the people are getting hung up on the 90-day thing, and I don't mean hung up, but it could be, it's unlikely, I think, with the way things seem to be going. If you look at New York, it could be 30.
Could happen.
Right.
Could be 30. It could be next Saturday. It's not going to be. As you hear the president talking today, he's now talking the end of April. He was talking Easter. If you go on the Gates Foundation website, you're going to find that Gates Foundation, all the research that they are doing, and they've got the finest scientists in the world on this. They're talking the end of May. I think most medical professionals are telling you maybe if we get ahead of it, maybe June, maybe August. So look, we picked a number, and that was the number that the council was comfortable with. But the council will be meeting probably regularly beginning April 6th. And they normally, if you know, they meet the first and the third Mondays of every month. Plus they have a work session on the first Thursday of the month. And I would pretty much guarantee you that this will get brought up at every single meeting. I can't imagine how it couldn't. And if not at every single meeting, regularly. And at any given time, that council can change this decision. Review it in light of whatever the current information is. Shoot, maybe the governor puts in an order, the president puts in an order that it's closed until the new year. I have no idea. But what we had to do today was pick a date, and that was the time frame that our council felt comfortable with.
So Jill's question is, as an owner living in Ohio, she wants to come down and work on her condo. She's allowed, but her guests and her family members, not considered renters, are not allowed?
Well, her family members, if she owns the condo, her family members essentially own the condo as well, right? Should she bring friends with her? And no, she shouldn't. She should recognize that, if you identify your space and your group as whoever's in your house right now. Now, if she has she has 10 different people in her house right now. Well, I guess then she could probably stretch that. But the likelihood of that is very, very slim. And the rule is no groups of 10 or more. And quite honestly, it's 10 or more at a 6-foot distance. So you got to have a pretty substantial size place to accommodate that. Mm-hmm. And, I guess I would just encourage, as I have before, for people not to look for the gray areas. Don't look for the gray. Keep this as black and white as you possibly can for yourself, because it will be easier. Now, so I'll answer her question directly. She has a condo and she'd like to come down and work on a project. She owns that property. She is free to access her property.
Got it.
Okay, yeah, because somebody else, people are asking because they left early to not be a part of the problem, didn't close up their house properly. So they can rest assured that if they own that property, they can come down and do what they need to do on it and then scooty boot back out.
Yes, they can. And they are not required to scooty boot back out. I like that expression. As a property owner, as a resident of this community, you are free to access your property. No one is going to stop you from doing that. However, I would caution people not to turn that into a vacation, because virtually nothing is open and the beach is not open. Now, at some point in time, will the council readdress that and look to see what they could possibly do to ease that restriction? You heard Councilwoman Hossafrost Rexand talking about that today. She would have liked to have done that today, but there wasn't the will to do that. So
were you getting?
I hope that's clear for people. It's like, if you've got you don't want to load your station wagon or your SUV up with friends and neighbors and say, hey, I've got a place on Fort Myers Beach, we can still go. That would be a really bad move. But, coming down because you need to do something to your house, or hurricane season is coming, people need to make preparations. Of course they can do that.
So, Kyle, I don't think the beach being closed and the hotel decision today are the same dates. I think everything will probably be looked at the same time when the council meets, and they may wind up being the same dates that are all lifted.
Are you referring to a question?
Yeah, Kyle asked the beach is closed for another 90 days, but that wasn't really part of it. It's just everything seems to be decided on when it's decided on, and it might wind up being the same amount of time, but at this point, that wasn't what the intent was.
All of these actions have been individual. The beach is closed until further notice,
right?
Period. So that may be April 30th. That may be July 15th. I don't know.
So
there's no way for any of us to know this.
Right. Were you getting information that the hotels were taking reservations? That's why the decision was made today, or is it trying to get everybody on the same page? Or, I mean, what was the reason to do that?
Trying to get everyone on the same page, trying to send a very clear message to the outside world that we appreciate you loving and wanting to be here on Fort Myers Beach. Now is not the time. And there were still some places that, yes, were in fact taking reservations. And our goal from day one has been to minimize the impact to our resources. I used that metaphor of our resource box. Mine says FMB, yours says Fort Myers. We all have resources. Well, when somebody comes from Traverse City, Michigan, their resource box is for Traverse City, not for Fort Myers Beach. And so it's just right. So there were places that were still taking reservations. There were this morning more than 63 VRBO, Airbnbs, all of those kind of, platform businesses that you could have made a reservation today on. So I went online to one of them and said, is this available? Can I come to the beach today? And the answer was yes.
Wow.
No. Yeah.
So how do you monitor and enforce all those things especially when they're online and it's not the local hotel owner that is going to follow the rules? How do you watch?
I'm not worried about our local hoteliers. Right. It's a dynamic group of people, and I'm only concerned that they, like me, at some point in the future will be in a financial situation to reopen their business. So these online rentals, the Home Away, all the ones that you know about, we monitor them now for the short-term rental ordinance. And so we have some programs in place where we will be able to monitor that. We'll be sending out messages to them. Mr. Hernstad is working on that right now so that we can send out the order so that they can read it very clearly. And I don't think that's going to be terrible. Well, let me back that. It's going to be cumbersome, but it's not going to be impossible.
Now, I know during the meeting, one of the hoteliers called in and asked about his employees being able to still come, and that is something that they can still do. So those people can still keep working, and they'll be able to still access the beach. Is that correct? I mean, not the beach areas.
That is correct. That was Tim Malbon from the Best Western, and yes, a great property. People love the Best Western. I have friends that have come there for 20 years. And I know that they are good friends with Mr. Murphy. And I don't think that we're going to have a problem with that. And of course, God bless them. These guys, these hoteliers, these property owners are all looking at how can we keep our employees, how can we keep them on the payroll? You instantly, like me, I've got pages of notes of what kind of projects can I do to keep some people going, and they're quite a lot. So I know that's with my stores. I can't imagine what it must be like for a hotel.
If anyone has any questions, they can type them in the chat box there. If they like the mayor to answer any questions. That's just the work from home atmosphere. I heard Ray's dog in the meeting today, so it's just part of the
Boudreaux and the puppy. Were you logged in? Oh, I don't want to meet your daughter. Boudreaux and the puppy, Thibodeau, were both made appearances this morning. Yes. So Ed, the third action that we took today was simply to memorialize in written form what we've been telling people since we canceled the Shrimp Festival, which is stay in your zone, stay in place, do go for a walk, jump in your pool, ride your bike, do whatever you can to stay mentally and physically happy and healthy, but limit wherever possible your travel and your interaction with other people physically. So if you can avoid going to Publix, avoid it. Use whatever kind of delivery service you can, and then like a friend of mine says, let it sit on the porch or in the garage for a day or two, and then go out and load it into your house. And so there's all kinds of guidelines for those kinds of things that people can adapt to.
Are you hearing more information from medical professionals that lead you to believe things are going to get worse in our area, or is this really just because you want to be as safe as possible?
I think anyone who doesn't believe that this is going to get worse is not paying attention. It's not just that I'm hearing from people. That information is being blasted to the world. So, for example, remember the other day I told you, my nose just, what's that superstition? Somebody's talking about you or something like that, which of course probably is true today. So remember that site that I told you, World Meter? Mm-hmm. Have you looked at that recently? Yeah,
today.
You see every single day, those numbers are going up exponentially. So that exponentially element is what people are losing sight of. Just heard Dr. Fauci has said today that he expects, or wouldn't be surprised, I think is what he actually said, to see 100,000 Americans lose their life to this. 100,000 people. Am I one of those people? Are you one of those people? Who are those 100,000 people? Because somewhere, they exist. At least they exist right now. And, as I've told you before, I have a sister who works here locally in the medical field. She's she's a nurse practitioner with a pulmonology group. And, you know, like she says, she doesn't tell me how to be the mayor, and I don't tell her how to be a nurse practitioner. We stay in our proper lanes, but, you know, I cannot imagine the stress that she is under right now. I just can't imagine it. So
We saw the mayor of New York, the governor, was it the governor? Yeah, the governor of New York was calling other health professionals to his state. He was trying to get more help from other states to come in to New York and help, because they're going, you know, they're right in the middle of it all there. And I know this isn't as important right now because it's a health issue right now, but the economic impact is going to be huge. And a lot of people are asking you about that and are asking us to ask you about that. And, you know, have you researched what kind of help those businesses are going to be able to get on the beach from all these government programs that they passed last week? And you think it's going to be enough?
So I think that, you know, the Chamber of Commerce is going to be doing a good job of getting out that information. I think at the Florida Gulf Coast University, there is a small business organization that also offers great resources. I think every one of us as business owners have CPAs who are paying very close attention to every detail about what may or may not be available for their clients. And so, you know, for me personally, that's where I go first. I go straight to my my CPA because I just think he is the best thing in the world. And aside from, you know, anyhow, so he would be my personal resource. What am I as the mayor going to do, or what is the town council going to do in short order to help people? You know, I had someone call me today and say, why don't you waive my taxes next year? So my taxes to the town of Fort Myers Beach are $332 for a year. That's not going to save anybody. Would it help tomorrow for someone? Probably. Could it be a piece of the puzzle? Maybe. Do I think that will happen? It's unlikely. Really unlikely, because then you're creating another problem. I think that what businesses will do, if anybody is in business right now, they've been savvy enough to keep their head above water through the water crisis. That was a doozy. And though that was short-lived, and even though it seemed like it dragged on forever, it had a definite end to it. But I think that the business community will be not only helping themselves, but helping each other and their employees. That's what I think will happen. So
there was another question earlier that I wanted to ask about town halls. Town hall open, and what is anything? Yeah. Okay, so it's not open for somebody to walk in, but is business still being done for permits and things like that? How does that happen?
Absolutely. How did it happen?
How do they, if they can't go to City Hall, they go online or call, or?
They can go online. They can call and schedule an appointment. They can, but just, you know, open to somebody walking in. You know, I think the town manager, rightly so, made the decision to close it to the public because, again, you don't. I mean, look, the last time I was in town hall was, gosh, I don't even know. It was. Well, it was a while ago.
The last hearing, the last emergency meeting.
No, because I was in there doing stuff.
Okay.
When did we close? Okay, but maybe it was the last hearing. You're absolutely right. That's when it was, which was a Thursday, I think. We had a meeting on a Wednesday and then another one on a Thursday, right? So at the front desk, they had put up this like plexiglass barrier to protect the women behind the desk there, like the lovely Donna and Ava, who have done such a fantastic job taking people's calls and trying to ease their concerns. But they also had taped off this like 6-foot perimeter, and people were walking right up to the glass and like tapping on the glass to get people's attention. So you can do what you can, but then there comes a point where you just cannot anymore. And that's what led to the closure.
I know last time we talked, people were asking about flood insurance, and Debbie Lallo just typed in that she just found out that the flood insurance will be delayed payment for probably 120 days. Because I
Oh.
know that was a concern for many businesses down there because it's apparently a very hefty bill. So,
Whoa, is it a hefty bill?
yeah.
Oh my goodness, it's a hefty bill. You
So
know,
that
my
may
flood
help a
insurance
little bit.
just on my home, my flood insurance between flood insurance and just general taxes is almost twice what my actual mortgage payment is.
Whoa.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
And I don't even live on the beach. I live in the middle of a block, you know.
when your mayorship is up in 8 days, you're going to need
Is
to
it
go
8
to
days?
Michigan. You're going to need to go to, or 9 days, whatever it is. You're going to need to go to Michigan and then Indiana because all these people over here, they need you up there. So oh, you can't fly right now. I guess. So you have to wait.
No. I'm. You know what? Everything I have asked someone else to do, I'm doing myself. So close your business. I closed mine. And I didn't even ask people to close their businesses, but I thought it was a good idea because I didn't want my people to be at risk. Close the business. Stay at home. I'm at home.
So do you think the future meetings are for the council are going to be held on Zoom like they were today? I mean, once you guys got the technology working, the microphones work great.
I thought it was better than I could have imagined. And I think as each meeting happens, it will be even better. I would assume, well, no, I'm not going to assume because we know what happens with that. I believe personally that would be the best way to go forward, simply because, again, you're leading by example. We're asking people to go home. We're asking people to stay at home. They can still participate. There was a little bit of uncertainty, or let's call it a glitch, for public comment. It was kind of hard to see who was there and whatnot, but I'm sure that could be worked out. This was the first time most of us had used it.
Yeah.
And we had one little practice round, but we didn't have a practice round with everybody in the room. So that was kind of interesting. But I'm glad to hear that it worked out well. And from all reports that I've had, people, they enjoyed the Brady Bunch effect.
Yeah.
So they were good with it.
So you haven't.
Well, I guess someone had asked, and it's gone past now, so I'm going to try and paraphrase correctly. But someone was asking about when people, or if people come down, to work on their houses or whatever, are they being required or asked to self-quarantine when they come down from out of state?
If you're from one of the states that have been put on that list, which I think right now is New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and Louisiana.
Oh, I didn't hear Louisiana, but it makes sense now after hearing about the Mardi Gras thing.
Louisiana, I believe the governor, Ed, you might want to research that and check it out. But so yesterday I had quite a few calls from people saying to me, hey, Jeep just pulled up to our condo with 6 girls from New York in it. And it's, girls gone wild at the pool. And they were really quite upset. I wonder if that was the same group that Joanne was referring to today. Anyhow, yes, they are required or they have been asked to quarantine in place for 14 days. Do I think they're going to do it? Nope, I do not think they're going to do it. I think that they've come here to Florida to have a good time, and they're going to have the best time they possibly can. Now, do I think that some people will? Sure, of course, because there are people who are rule followers and there are people who are not. And we just have to hope the one outweighs the other.
Mayor, I'm going to put this question on the screen and let you read it while I'll kind of explain the background of that. Today at the county meeting, Brian Hammond kind of called Cape Coral to task for not declaring a state of emergency. And one of the explanations was that if they did that, they would have to pay employees time and a half or extra money. And they didn't want to do that. They were hoping that the governor would take the lead or the county would take the lead so that they wouldn't have to pay that. And Brian didn't go for that. He said, you really shouldn't be worrying about money. I'm paraphrasing, because all of that's going to be reimbursed, he thinks, by the federal government when all is said and done. So back to the question from Celeste. Are you worried about the people in Cape Coral coming over?
Celeste, I have enormous admiration for Joe Coviello, the mayor of Cape Coral. He is a strong man who has a moral compass like a few others, and he loves the city of Cape Coral. I think he is. I think he is an excellent example of a leader. What he right now appears to be sort of strangled with are, and I don't know the particulars, so I really don't want to speak for him, but there is something in his, I don't know if it's his charter or if it was a negotiated contract with the unions that instantly kicks all those workers into overtime pay should they call a local state of emergency. Now, for a city like Cape Coral, that's overwhelming. I mean, that's enormous. So I also understood, did Commissioner Hammond not ask their county attorney if by virtue of the fact that the county put into place a state of emergency, that wouldn't help Cape Coral? Did I heard that
he did ask him, but I didn't quite understand the attorney's answer to be able to explain it. But he did ask him that. Yeah. He made. I think they said it was $1.5 million either a week or a month on top of, so it's a big bill. And there was another reason. It was two reasons, but that was the one that I remember the most.
So Mayor Coviello certainly understands his city far better than I do or ever will, and I would just tell Celeste that I personally trust him to make the best decisions for Cape Coral he could possibly make. That's just how strongly I feel about him. Sorry, I've been coughing all day. I'm fine. I mean, I've been talking all day.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You ready? Okay. So one of the things that came up during the meeting today that maybe you want to address is the restaurants on the beach that are still open, that are doing takeout, or I guess that's all that's left now is takeout. There might be some people congregating out waiting, and so that, not their fault, I guess, but I don't know if there's a way to say, hey, listen, can you keep them 6 feet apart or something? I mean, I'm sure they're doing their best.
So that's come up several times in the last few days, especially over the weekend, where I guess. I'm not going to call any names because maybe they just didn't understand it clearly. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. So, but tables were either being set up outside in the parking lot or on the sidewalk or someplace, and people were actually going in, getting their takeout, and then coming out and sitting together and eating. And that's not permitted. So takeout is you come in, you get your food, and you go home with it, not sit down and have a little picnic, on the patio or in the parking lot or on the sidewalk. That is not what was talked about. So I think you heard Mr. Hernstat in the course of the meeting talk about they would be further monitoring the restaurants and would ask them to remove tables and chairs if necessary.
Gotcha. I'm going to pop this question up here
Okay.
from Lori.
I like the pop-up questions.
Good.
Lori,
You got to get that for your Brady Bunch box next time. See if you can pop up.
Yeah. Oh, that's not a bad idea, actually. Lori Brewer Booth. How will you enforce the no short-term rentals for hotels, etc.? So, Lori, much like the beach. So, when we talked about closing the beach, Ed, what'd you say? That was 12 days ago?
Yeah, I'm keeping track. It's like a Nightline thing. It's day 12 of the beach being closed.
It's day 12. So when we first talked about closing the beach, the reaction was, dear Lord, that's impossible. How in the world are you going to get all those people out of here? How are you going to do it? And it is that old adage, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? So how we will enforce this with the short-term rentals that, as I described before, are licensed by the town. They have to register with the town. Of course, there are some rogue properties, but few. So those will be monitored by the town, and they will be put on notice here, tomorrow. The hotels, I just am not. Maybe I'm being particularly aspirational here, but I don't think there is a hotel property owner or manager on this island right now that isn't putting a plan into place and wasn't putting a plan into place before we took this action. So I think that it will kind of self-monitor, but in the process, one thing that Fort Myers Beach is both really great about, and it can be not so great at times, is that everybody knows your business. You cannot throw down a Dixie cup on Estero Boulevard without 10 people calling and telling me that you've done it. So I think that if someone, I'll just happen to tell you that I happen to know of people who are, or who did call locations to see if they could make a reservation. And then they call me and say, I just called and they were going to take my reservation. Isn't that wrong? So I'm sure that will happen. It's just what has been happening, and we will just take it one day at a time and do our best to help these properties and monitor our success with it.
Have you left your house yet?
Mm-mm. But to walk Stella, and which walking Stella, I walked her just about a half hour ago. I came across my friends Axel and Connie Schultz, who used to have the Island Motel, which for those of you who know Fort Myers Beach well, you used to see the Island Motel very easily, but now John Richard owns the Island Motel, and it's in back of Zushi and Shipwreck. So Connie and Axel said, that they had watched the meeting and they were very glad, of everything that happened. It was essential. But they also told me that last week or 10 days ago, they were both sick. They both had a cold. They both felt awful. Their doctor sent them to get tests, and the test came back and they are healthy and well. And it was just so great to hear that. And they were out walking their 2 dogs. And I have walked my dog.
Before you finish that, they were able to get coronavirus tests?
You know what? I probably shouldn't have said that. And Connie and Axel, I apologize if I have divulged something I shouldn't have said.
No. It just seemed like there's been people complaining that the turnaround time is growing into like 12 days, but it didn't sound like it took that long for them to get the results back.
So it took them 1 week to get the results.
Okay, back. 1 week.
One entire week, yes.
That's got to be a week of torture waiting for that. Jeez.
Can you imagine?
Turn it around.
Well, I happen to know several people who are in that waiting place right now.
Yeah.
Several people.
So how worried are you that the young man, the 39-year-old DJ that passed away last week, did spend some time at one of the hotels as a DJ for no fault of their own? I mean, I'm not trying to call anyone out on this one. It just so happened that he DJ'd once or twice on the beach, I guess, and then downtown Fort Myers. Do you know if things are being followed up as a result of that?
I would certainly hope they are. I don't have any information on that. So does it concern me? Well, of course it does. Of course it concerns me because, DJs are celebrities.
Right.
People flock to them. They're local celebrities. And so, and they also don't just kind of teleport themselves from their home, their car into the DJ booth. I'm sure they're having something to eat. They're mingling with people. There was probably a lot of interaction, at least from people I know who were at an event downtown Fort Myers that knew him personally. It was just like any other normal Saturday night. But his God bless him, his situation happened and moved so quickly. And I guess I've cautioned people to not think this can't happen to me. It started with, it's just going to be old people. Well, it's not just going to be old people. And as each day, as numbers come in, if you look at, some of the reporting sites, just look at Lee County. There are young people, middle-aged people, old people. So I think everyone should err on the side of caution and just think in terms of it could be me next.
we had Councilman-elect Bill Veach on the show Saturday, and he's going to be sworn in with Dan and Jim on the 6th. Are they gonna do it in the Brady Bunch box? I mean, that's probably how they're gonna do it, right?
Yeah, I don't know that. I don't know the particulars of that yet. I'm excited to see those three as members of the town council. I know them all, and they're all three of them are different. But what they have in common is that they think about the whole island. They're resourceful. They're smart. And I think they all bring something interestingly different to the table. I think it could be the most dynamic council ever.
Well, it's going to be pretty interesting for them to come in at this time with this going on. I mean, this,
can't imagine, right?
This is huge. You know, I know that they're very smart and whatever, but any advice that you have for people, you know, for them coming in and how to tackle all of this?
You know, I would just tell them what I told all of them when they, you know, talked to me about running or talked to me in the course of their campaigns. I said, you know, at the end of the day, you have to lay down and put your head on the pillow and be satisfied with the work you've done that day. Whether you're a town council member, a mayor, a business owner, or a mom. And if you remember to kind of keep that in perspective, if you remember that you're here to serve this community, not have the community serve you, if you remember that, and you remember that there are lots and lots of people on this island, and you likely will only hear from a handful of them periodically, just keep that in perspective and listen to your gut, and you'll make good decisions. Don't try and please everybody, because you're never going to do that. Just make the best right decision you possibly can and let the chips fall where they may.
So Dawn, I wish we had Dawn on. I wonder if that means she went and took a test for coronavirus and hasn't gotten it back yet. So, and I'm guessing
I'm sorry to hear that, Dawn.
Yeah, I'm guessing she might live on the island, or I don't know that for a fact or not.
I don't know. And as I said, I probably I apologize to my friends Connie and Axel if I stepped out of line. It was such great news to me, and great news for them to share with me. I don't, you know, I try and not get too involved or involved at all in the medical side of this, because it's not my zone, not my area. But I guess I would just tell Dawn to be patient. I'm sure they will tell her as soon as they possibly know, and I hope that she's feeling all right.
Any final thoughts or words you want the residents to know before we let you go tonight?
You know, it was echoed over and over from the other members of the council how much they appreciated this community. I think several of them said they have newfound admiration and love for their neighbors, and this town as a whole, just to see how I think it was Rexanne that said, you know, how people are helping each other, how they're being respectful of one another. You know, I continue to get little messages on my door. Today someone left me a little basket of sewing stuff. I don't know, I must have mentioned at some point in time, I used to love to sew. And it's the kindness, you know, those random acts of kindness that will get us through this. And, you know, I have such faith in this town, and such love. It's cornbally as that sounds. It's a time where I want to start singing "I'll Get By with a Little Help from My Friends," because that's how I will get by, and I hope that that's how others will too.
Well, Mayor, thanks so much again for coming on. We always appreciate your time. It's always
You're
great.
welcome.
Information is awesome, and we
welcome, Ed.
we really appreciate you doing this with us.
You're welcome. So listen, Ed, tomorrow morning, I'm going to sign those resolutions. They were still working on putting them in final form when town hall actually closed for the few people that were there. So tomorrow morning, I'm going to sign them, and then I'll send them to you so you could post them to your page so people could actually read them. Well, they'll be sent to a lot of people, and if anything else happens between now and whenever, or if you get a bunch of questions you want answered, just let me know. I suspect once people have a chance to sort of like let this percolate and sit in their heads, there will be more questions. So maybe if not tomorrow, the day after or something, I'll come back on and talk to people, and they could submit their questions in the meantime, or they could email me at town hall, whatever they like, and we'll do our best to help.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Have a great night.
Thank you,
Get some
guys.
rest.
I'm going to. Thanks
All right.
very much. I
Bye-bye.
appreciate it.
All right, everybody. Mayor Anita Saracita, another special show in the can. This time flies by when she's on. It's almost been an hour.
I know, it's crazy.
Great information, and she's so genuine and helpful, and we appreciate her coming on the show. We appreciate all you guys with your nice comments tonight. I was watching them all. I'm going to copy and paste.
Yeah,
them
there's
so
a
you can read
lot
them
of
all.
there's a lot of support for Anita for the great job that she is doing, and tireless job. I mean, she's really burning the candle at both ends.
Something smells good out there.
I know.
Who's cooking something?
I got
Smells
my
very
dinner
good.
going.
Okay.
You're not getting any.
All right, everybody. We'll see you again next time or on the Facebook. Have a great night.
Stay safe.
Bye-bye.